Hey guys, welcome to GKN, and today we're getting into 10 Season 8 Game of Thrones predictions. There's so many of them out there, and these are just my personal ones. I hope you guys enjoy them. And what are your predictions? What do you guys think is going to happen? Let me know, and enjoy. Number 10. Bran will warg into a dragon. Now, if you don't remember, Bran was told by the three-eyed raven the first time he went into the cave that he'll never be able to walk again, but he will fly. And, I mean, Game of Thrones is always subliminal messages and little hints, so I really think that had a lot more meaning than what it led off to be at the time. Technically, you could say, well, Bran flies and goes and anything that he can warg into to see what's going on, but I think it has more significance than that. That's just my opinion. I mean, how awesome would it be to see Bran warg into Viserion and just like chuck the Night King off his back or something like that? I think it'd be cool. Anyway, that's number 10. Moving on. Number 9. Jon will ride a dragon. Now, this is something everyone has been waiting for since probably season 3. I am so excited, and it's been talked about ever since last season when Drogon let Jon pet him. I think that was a clean indication. There's been plenty of subliminal messages before that. What comes to mind immediately is when Tyrion goes to feed the dragons, how he says dragons are very smart and they know who their allies are. It's also said that dragons can sense Targaryen blood. So I really believe this is going to happen, and I am super stoked. I'm more interested in Daenerys' reaction, honestly. I'm really interested to see how she responds. Is she going to act like the jealous type, or is she going to embrace the fact that there's another Targaryen? Super excited to see. What do you guys think? At number 8, we have Arya will get with Gendry. Now, this one is not necessarily a no-brainer, but the closest thing to it on this list. I think they implanted, the seeds to this relationship way back in season 2, and we've kind of been wondering where he went. And as soon as he came back, that's all anybody's been talking about, is when is he going to reunite with Arya. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. I also believe after Arya finishes her storyline, which I believe that there's a major role that she still has to play in the end game, and we'll get to that later. But as soon as she gets done with that, I think this will make the logical sense for the ending for these two.
I served Master Mott at King's Landing, and he sold me to the Watch. I'm done serving.
You just said you were serving Lord Beric.
He may be their leader, but they chose him. These men are brothers. They're a family. I've never had a family.
I can be your family.
Number 7, Jaime will die. Now, I know a lot of you probably thinking, duh. I mean, a lot of people are going to die, but I think his death is going to have significant meaning, and I don't think it's going to happen anywhere close to what anyone thinks it's going to happen. And I actually think this is going to tie into my Arya prediction later on in the video. And I personally think he's going to die during the battle with the Night King. I actually think he might even sacrifice himself and play a big role in the Night King's demise. I think we've heard him allude to that book over and over again, and how his chapters or his pages are empty, and he wants to fill those pages before his time is up. Now, we all have seen the transformation in character lately, and I think with the way he left King's Landing, and I just think that would be not only a heartbreaking blow to Cersei when she finds out that he died, but I also think it's going to have a huge role to play later on. So I definitely, I don't think the surprise of him dying is really going to be a surprise. I think everybody is prepared. Well, we say we're prepared, but I think everybody's going to break down when it happens. Like everybody's going to be a nutcase during half the season 8. I promise you. Because everyone said it and we see it coming, but there are going to be so many deaths of major characters in season 8. And I can't wait. But I think Jamie is going to play a huge role, and I think that his death will be more of a sacrifice than anything. And it's just, what better way to fill the pages for the Kingslayer who turned his back on his people, that's what they look at it as, than to sacrifice himself for the greater good. I think that would be the ideal ending for Jamie in my book.
I told you no one walks away from me.
Number 6, Tyrion will marry Sansa. This one, to me, this one seems like a logical choice because I feel like Tyrion and Sansa both play major roles in the future after season 8, but I don't see Sansa being with anybody else. It just makes sense for me. Number 5, Mormont will be the next Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. I think this one would be a feel-good story and a good way to end Mormont's chapter if he doesn't die, which is that's a strong possibility as well. But I feel like if he does survive, if there is a Night's Watch, he'll be the next commander. And I believe the next one is the 100th. So it kind of makes sense, his father and everything went through. So it would be a nice feel-good story for all the bitterness that is to come. Number 4, all of the dragons or magic in Westeros will die. I believe by this point, this will happen at the very end of the story. The beginning of the story, dragons were reborn along with all, well, maybe not along, but right along with it came a lot of the magic and the resurrections and all of that stuff. I think all of that ends when all the dragons die in the war with the Night King. And I think that's how they kind of close up that story. I don't think you can leave the story open with dragons still going around, all this magical power. I mean, they could, don't get me wrong, they could very well, especially just extend it and make more stories afterwards. I just think with such a big event, they've got to make it finale, make long-lasting effects after these events. So that's why I think that all the dragons are going to bite the dust. Number 3, Jon and or Dany will die at the end of season 8. Now, this might not be a popular one, but I think it's pretty obvious that one of these two characters are going to bite the dust. I personally believe we might see both die, because that's just how messed up George R.R. Martin is. Brilliantly messed up. And I hate it. Jon's my favorite character, but I don't think there's any way he gets out of this. As previously was just stated, I believe the magic will die with the dragons at the end of this. If the resurrections and all that Lord of the Light stuff and power and magic came back when the dragons were reborn, if there's no more magic, and magic is what's keeping Jon alive because his heart is stopped, then logically there's no way Jon can survive that. I mean, that's just where I'm looking at it from. Maybe they find a way out of it. Personally, I think that's why George R.R. Martin did not go that way in the books. I think maybe in the books Jon will survive because in the books he just wargs into Ghost. But this brings either a hole in the story or this possible ending. And I think Dany could possibly die from childbirth. That's why I didn't even include that on this list. I think it's so obvious, or they made it so obvious, that she's pregnant. I didn't feel I needed to include that in this list. I think it's a strong possibility that she dies from childbirth, especially considering both their parents died the same way. Or who knows, there might even be, a lot of people think she'll have to be the sacrifice if Jon is Azor Ahai. And some people believe that she's going to be part of the deal if there is a deal between Jon and the Night King. So it's a couple different possibilities on how she dies, but I think most likely it would be by childbirth. Number 2, Tyrion will rule over Westeros. This one only happens if my other predictions come to fruition. So if Jon and Dany both die, I think Tyrion will rule and raise their child, or children if they have twins. I just think that's the best choice. I think that's the where they are hinting with the succession comments that Tyrion made in season 7, and I think people generally would be happy with that. Number 1, Arya will kill Cersei. Now this one, I'm super excited because I haven't heard this one from many other people. I actually haven't heard this from anybody. This ties in with my earlier prediction and Jaime playing a huge role in the series and him dying in the north. I believe he goes up north, sacrifices himself one way or the other against the Night King, or to defeat the Night King, and Arya sees the opportunity. She takes his face, and all the prophets and everything say that Cersei will die by her brother's hands. And everybody immediately thinks Tyrion is the one who's going to choke her. Well, lately people have been saying no, it could possibly be Jaime, especially with the Kingslayer role. He would, it fits. I understand both ways, and that's very logical. But I just don't see them not paying off on the whole Arya storyline. I don't see Arya with the list and Cersei being the main player on that list for them to just let that go by. I think there's no way. I think this is Arya's mission. Arya is not going to stop until she kills Cersei with her own hands. I just think that's how it's going to go. And what better way to hit home with which we now know is the true villain of Game of Thrones. What better way than to do it with Jaime's face? I think it would be completely awesome, by the way, if this happens. If this happens, I will lose my mind. This will be the best ending that I could, for Arya and that whole storyline, for the Starks. The Starks need this, guys. I'm telling you, we need it. All you Stark lovers out there, we need this to happen. So nobody's thinking it. So, or not that I've heard of anyway. What do you guys think? Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, make sure you like and subscribe on my channel. This is the first video of hopefully many, many more. Don't forget to comment your guys' opinions. What do you think? Again, thanks for watching. Later, guys.